we're going to have a sit down now. Sis Philisa Titus, please can you come on stage for our sit down? We'll get to know from her. Yeah, but love. Come on, ladies. Come on, ladies and gentlemen. And doesn't she look incredible? All right, can we get you the mic? All right.
Thank you. Can I just say something before you start? I'm so amazed, because just this past week, I'm talking to a close friend of mine. Ndikhumbula brother wam owaswelekayo in, I think, 2016. And I'm talking, I don't know what made me think of this memory. Ndibali saying, hey, I remember my mom telling a story about how my little brother, I think he was, I don't know what age he was, but he was still an infant. So I am so incredibly just amazed to be bumping into Umkaya up. But bandile upi.
So your thing is,
what a pleasure to hear his story. And Mazi. But so the story, I think it's a bit, is it fine? My mic?
Yeah. But you can continue.
Okay. So I'm talking now about, my mom had an issue. Okay. Dibali said to this friend of mine, but my mom, I remember telling us a story that when my brother was very young, wake wamxaka engaguli kuthiwa ke uthi engatyi uthi ke kwaweske ngokungale mini where he was gasping for breath. So she tells the story uthi she didn't know what to do. She ran out of the house, went to estratweni. Uthi kwafika utata wathi, hey mandukhawulise kulo muntu uthengisa iyeza leplate. Ndithi hayi mani yintoni lento yanamhlanje? I don't know if ngumama kabandile lo wanceda ubrother wam. But for me it's such a touching day. Xa ndizawuthetha ndive esi story, this amazing story of growth from this gentleman uBandile. Bandile, I look forward to meeting you further. Thank you.
1, 2. All right, so just briefly read your bio. So people know the incredible and powerful woman that you are. Philisa Titus is the managing director of BS Titus Holdings, where she oversees and manages a commercial office and retail real estate portfolio with a focus on asset management. Her strategic leadership has driven 130% growth in the value of portfolio over the last 14 years. Bakhuluma ngama percentage. Prior to working there, she worked in the Investec Private Bank Wealth, managing investments for high net worth individuals with over 13 billion. And her latest acquisition, this I found really, really mind-blowing. Her latest acquisition of the Sasol fuel station in Ngobo is a significant milestone in her career. I think that deserves a round of applause. So we're going to have a conversation, open heart-to-heart conversation. What's your story? Why entrepreneurship?
Sure. I'll be very honest. I've heard of inspiring stories of how people enter the world of entrepreneurship, but mine is not too conventional. I think because I was loving my job in the corporate world at Investec. I had so many aspirations for growth, wanted to study further and really just, grow in the investment banking space. But as it were, utata ke ebekhe wanempilo erongo ke at the time when he was living. So in 2009, And funny enough, it was during the financial crisis as well. So my parents approach me and they say, hey, we need one of you girls who have studied commerce. That is my sister and I. Guys, think about leaving your jobs. Because now Tata had received a kidney transplant. But ke ngoku usifake impela ke ngoku kwezinto and zikhona izinto ezinamagingxigingxi. There are things that are really of huge concern that the business was going through a lot of difficulty. Athi ke kukho ke phofu ke isaso garage at the time in the family. Mandithethe loo nto. So, you know, I decided, you know what, it's in the middle of a financial crisis. There are not going to be any bonuses in the corporate, you know, in the investment banking space. I can go there for a couple of years, and then I can come back. And I had a lot of support from my manager at the time. I was in the wealth management space, so I was looking after investments for high net worth individuals. You had to have, our target market was investable assets of 25 million per person. So I got to see wealth in South Africa. And for me, I think going back home was, Dinalando, Dinomunyu, Dita man. I need to also see how I can go back home and impart something, and to try and sort of get people to start thinking in terms of how we can really start gathering wealth and making the right decisions to go that way. So it was a short-term thing coming here, and indeed it was very, very tough. I know we'll talk about that, but I never ever imagined that I would still be here, but it turned out to be destiny.
Wow. You know, Bandile earlier on was asked the question about, you know, when you're on your journey of entrepreneurship, there are so many things that you go through. What has kept you inspired in your journey? And what keeps you going even today?
Guys, it's very simple. I think a lot of us in business will connect on this one, that in business you have a lot of sleepless nights. But I think a lot of people will say, but wena ufikele kwi business ibisiqaliwe. But there is nothing as heavy as the weight of ilegacy yomntu. Heavy bantu basekhaya kakhulu, because if you start your own business, at least your mistakes are yours. No one is affected. But if into yomntu, you best believe that you don't only have to answer to yourself, but you have to answer to the people. She always asks me things so what were you talking about here? There are people that I am answerable to, but I'm also answerable to the community who have such an attachment to this legacy. I am answerable to the staff, the most precious resource that we have. Those people are connected to this business from a financial reliability point of view. These people rely on this business staying afloat and being healthy and growing. So I'm passionate about impacting people's lives. So that's what really keeps me going. Yeah.
Sure. Hello?
I think that one is flat.
1, 2. All right, we'll use this one. I think we can give a round of applause before we move on to our next question. Thank you for your honesty. And every day, we're having to make decisions. Every day. What are some of the most challenging decisions? I know you've had to make a lot. Give us 2 of the most challenging decisions you've ever had to make, and how did you strategically approach those challenges?
Look, when I arrived in the family business, it was a portfolio of assets, let me say. So there's the property side, and there was the retail side, and there was a Cecil, there was a food franchise, there was a cars and spare parts issue. And I sat with my father in 2000. I arrived in late 2009. And we had some hard calls. We had to make some hard decisions, rope in the family and align with one another in terms of which assets are we going to let go of. And ours was not to say, siyavala, we've given up. My dad used to say, I will work for the rest of my life. I will rest when I die. I tend to believe in that. So ours was to say, you know what, let us be strategic. Sometimes you have to take a step back in order to take a couple of steps forward. By not being in a position where you are disinvesting out of assets when banks are behind your back and or creditors are behind your back, when you take that step proactively and say, okay, let me disinvest out of this right now and be able to settle my creditors, etc., so that I don't go into like liquidation, bankruptcy or whatever, file for bankruptcy. There's no shame in that. But what I'm trying to say, if you take matters into your hands, let me take this step in order to have a chance at growth again. I think that was one of the most responsible and hard decisions that we've had to take.
Later on, we're going to have a networking session where entrepreneurs will meet other entrepreneurs and about the importance of building relationships, because business is about people. It's relationships. What advice would you give to entrepreneurs in the room today on how to leverage, how to network, how to build relationships practically?
Someone said something, I'm not sure if it was Uput Andile, Bandile. Someone said, doing the simple things. Relationships are built through honesty, transparency, establishing that trust. People are more able to open up to you when they see you are being authentic. I believe that I think one of the best ways to impress people is just to be yourself. So I have so many incredible stories of how networking, the kind of networking that starts with simple conversations, sort of results in opportunities and doors opening. Andina race guys. I network wherever. And I don't say, I'm a shy person, mind you. I'm very shy. I prefer intimate sort of circles, one-on-one, interactions. But I do understand that part of my journey requires me to sit like this. So I would do little things, such as, if ndise, noma ndise doing groceries, ndisifundise ndandisha nyani ndingakwazi uthetha nomuntu endingamqhelanga. I reach out to the cashier and start a conversation. Unjani wethu, you akuseshushu ntonto. Apha ke Eastern Cape, we are very good at that. We are very good at ungamazi umuntu ufika kukumama olapha ecangu kwakho athi chi yalo mntana khina uyandisokolisa. Iqala conversation about mothering or abantwana or how we are raising abantwana. Anikhange ni exchange names or amagama, but you are just having a conversation at the side of the bus station, in the taxi, in the grocery store, airports, in wherever. So those are the kinds of interactions that I really enjoy, and I really can say that they have rendered so much return in terms of what they have done for me as in business. Maybe later on, if you require that of me, I will give you an example of that kind of.
Go ahead. It's at the top of your mind, so shoot.
One of my favorite stories, guys. In fact, I have two. Manqale apha in this room. You see that gentleman over there, Mr. Bass, from Sasol. Sasol is a big organization. I was scared. I was scared. If you're scared of something, do it scared anyway. Just do it scared. So ndiyafika ke ngoku eSasol. But mind you, our site had been standing, still for quite some time. Inga trade. So we'd lost quite a bit of market share. The volumes were low when we started. As volumes up again, but we've made steady progress. But it was hard for me to buy a truck full of fuel. I didn't know about yenzwa njani. Uzayithatha phi le mali ifunwa yi-truck fuel ndizazi that I am only selling X amount of liters per week. Iyawuthatha 2 weeks le truck full, le truck full, and I have to pay this fuel, right? I was stuck. I started reaching out to dealers. And hike up the hike is fuel up ago. But really, you have to try anything. But it wasn't until I met, and this is why I think there is such a connection that I feel about Sasol as a company. Because I met this gentleman, Mr. Tony Bay, sitting right here. And he reasoned. He said, he told me the honesty, look, we're going to have to get you to buy a truck full. However, I understand you make some compelling, points, and I'm going to help you. I'm going to, we need to structure a motivation to get a truck down here for a certain period of time. That man has partnered with Sasol Ngcobo from the day of inception. I have profound respect for him. I have such profound respect for Sasol as an organization. Ndingaqale ndithi Sasol as a brand, but mandiqale ndithi Sasol as an organization, because an organization is into yabantu. It's about people. This company is very, very, and I haven't been asked to talk about this because Sasol is here, but I really want to share why, why I'm touched by, this gathering as well. So there is such an intentionality about respecting people. There is such an intentionality and commitment to being mindful of the environment. And it's educating Gelando, because we don't know global warming. We don't know what how we have participated in messing up the environment. But when you listen to our retail engagements, when you listen to people speaking with such passion and urgency, but speaking with such passion about respecting the customer, respecting people, respecting themselves. I think, for me, it just speaks to those key principles and values that I have, in my heart as well. I hope I've answered. No, I can derail, guys. Just be patient with me. Yeah.
So, we're told start small, think big. Have a 5-year plan, have a 10-year plan, and at times it's difficult to see where that 5 or 10 years is.
Yeah.
What thinking framework do you use to come up with that 5-year, 10-year plan?
Yeah, you're right when you say think small, break it up. So remember, I said that when I came back, the family business was in great distress, or not great distress, but we had to make some tough calls. And my short-term strategies were, okay, let's augment the property portfolio, because this I'm going to have to leverage from for other opportunities, right? So what do I mean by that? Let's relook at our tenant mix. Let's understand that we have we don't have a choice. We have to grow. So we need to position ourselves to attract those blue chip tenants. These are tenants, those listed companies, those net banks. So interestingly, Nedbank is a tenant of ours, one of the first tenants that I landed in the family business, Nedbank branch in Ngcobo. Nedbank is, this whole event is quite interesting for me. It was pre-planned. But Nedbank has played such an incredible role in the growth of our business. In fact, even in the restoration of lost assets, okay? So our funding came from Nedbank, from the Commercial Property Fund. Networking relationships, talking to people, just striking la conversation, Jay. And our valuer, a guy called Alan Moyes, he does valuations. I used to get involved in debates. I come from a finance background, so I like understanding how assets are valuated, right? So now go ati this building value is this we are Ellen. This is what it should be. And we have these robust debates. And through that, a relationship was formed. Alan introduces me to a Diane Jolly, Nedbank, PE. The rest was history. From that relationship, I was able to, and by that point, you must remember, these short-term, medium-term, started augmenting properties, started, fixing up our leases, etc., meeting people, and these little steps that you break up, suddenly, by the time the Cecil opportunity happens, you're ready. You're ready. The assets that you want to gear are there. You're able to go for those opportunities.
Sure. Yeah, you can give a round of applause. Entrepreneurship is a mind game. That's what I believe. If you can win it in the mind, because that's where it all starts, right? And having, just read your bio and your accomplishments and the people that you've worked with, what are some of the common mindset characteristics that you've put out that separate an ordinary entrepreneur from the best?
Sure, that's a tough one. I would say, I think, I once heard something, I think a decade ago, and it said, if entrepreneurs are people who are generally dissatisfied with the status quo. This reminds me of, how did you start Titus House commercial building when I was doing the remodeling, which shot the value up, right? I had a short stint at architecture. We said, Mosi, we're going to speak transparently. I failed my first year. I was deregistered from UCT. I had to go and find a new career, which became BCom Finance. Guys, these, I love what you said, Puti. We learn. We make these mistakes and we learn, right? And so I didn't know how to go about any kind of construction project. I don't want to jump all over the place, but there's also a beautiful story around the person that helped me do this development. So I didn't know how to go about. I knew that I needed to remodel the space. It was a space, 800 square meter space. There's no market for this. I need to chop it up, but I want to do something interesting, right? But I feel out of my depth. So it was this, just looking outside of yourself and trying to see how do I carry out, how do I execute this project, going to people that can assist you. I never imagined that I would actually, be able to put together a space like that and say, this is, where valuers can come in and say, I know there's an A grade, but there's another grade that was like really impressive to them. But, they said, this space is honestly a very, you've done an amazing job with the space. So I would say that I think that mindset of telling yourself that I don't like the space the way that it is. I also don't like the fact that buildings there to in rural economies or rural environments are not cared for. They don't represent what we want, or they don't mirror the direction that we want to travel in. So I began that project of asset improvement, investing in these spaces, because I strongly believe that people are impacted by their environments, and the environment is also the architecture, the buildings, Yeah.
It's a mindset. It's a mindset. And, we cannot finish off this conversation before you share your final words without talking about dealing with failure and being rejected. Because it's what, how do you practically deal with rejection your way? How have you dealt with it?
It's going to seem like I'm not being real about how tough rejection is. Do it again. It's as simple as that. Do it again and again and again until you don't actually fear rejection. And just then, that's when, that's when you look back and you say, when before Nedbank, approved our funding, I had been knocking on the doors of different investors, financing houses, banks, etc., for so long. And then I kind of thought, please, yes, you were in banking, but you were in the wealth management space. I wasn't doing deals, lending deals, etc. But go and find out. Go and find out what you need, how you need to position your deal in order for you to get some success. And it actually wasn't too many things. And you know what, by the way? Those failures, whether it's a proposal, whether it's that business plan, remember that there's nothing as sweet for me as going into my computer and nangona zange ivunywe endaweni ethile ndake ndayibhala uyithathe kuloo folder and do it again. Yeah.
Powerful. We could give a round of applause. It's going to be my last one before I open it up to the public. And family, coming from families that don't understand entrepreneurship, being in relationships with people who don't know the way that you're thinking and why, Bandile spoke about it as well. Like, they don't understand. They think that you're crazy. And sometimes they say hurtful things. How do you, those words, those negative naysayers, negative words, how do you deal with them practically? Then we're going to open it up to the floor.
Guys, we are not robots. We are human beings. We're allowed to feel, and we're allowed to be hurt. But that's just an emotion. How you then deal with it. Yeah. How you then, if you have conviction about what you're doing. I always say, I am more scared of not doing something because I'm scared than I am of failing at that thing, right? So people won't see your vision. And by the way, the vision I fikelanga bona, I fikele wena. So and vision, I think by its nature, I think it's supposed to be contested and challenged. So don't be surprised. Don't be surprised when people don't necessarily share your vision. So it's a tough journey. But I see a room of people. Kwaba nibe lapha ningabikho kwenye indawo nithi ayindidiniwe. I see a people that have that resilience.
Sure. All right, so just 3 questions. My brother, your hand was up before I even said questions. 1. Last one? Okay, we'll take the two.
Good day, everyone. My name is Viwe Teko, and I am Induna of Solve Processing. What we do at Solve Processing is we process industrial hemp for fiber production. Now, I just have a statement before I have a question, Siswam, in which I came halfway to what you were saying, but I resonated with what you said. And I have this fear of, I've failed so much that now once I have a taste of success, there comes that fear now of what do I do? So how do you get to handle something like that? And also with my statement, I would like to let the people know that I am looking for people who would participate in this hemp industry. It's a very new industry. It just opened up and there's many possibilities, guys. If there's anything that you would like to add onto the industry, please just hit me up. Here am I. I'm also on Facebook as well.
That's why we have the networking.
And same
They're
name
gonna
on-
come
on
straight
all
to you.
platforms. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you, my brother. All right, you want to take it before we
Yes, please.
we can? All right.
Yeah, it's such a valid, you know, it's not an emotion, but I think it's a reality. You have that anxiety about pursuing things because you keep looking back, and I think that's the main issue. You're looking back. Every chance to try again is a new chance. You know, I would really encourage you to also surround yourself around people that, you know, are very strong in that regard, very, you know, good motivators. Perhaps, I mean, I know nowadays, you know, people have life coaches, etc. You can approach someone, an accountability partner, just to help you to get through that loop. Write down your goals and say, you know, I want to push this business to this point in this financial year, but I am struggling to actually move towards that point. I would say reach out to someone who's who's going to be that accountability partner that you can now say, make me account to these goals that it's a difficult one, but I would encourage you to just keep pushing.
Keep pushing. All right. One last question, my sister. Your name and straight to the question, please. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Mbawula Chat. I am a digital content creator. I'm also working one of the leading health research institute in Africa. One of the questions that I would like to ask, since you have been working for one of the two big companies, what are some of the key skills or knowledge that has helped you flourish in this between the organizations?
Thank you. Thanks, Zan. I would say, it's different, qualities that I think you gain from different experiences. When I was still in corporate, I learned how to negotiate. You know, I was very much trying to push products, etc., and convince people, and and my goodness, but my time in the Eastern Cape has been a school of many, many lessons. It's so difficult to reduce them to a few, but what I will say is that navigating different cultures. You know, you come from a city, yes, but you go to, you work in Cape Town, you spend a lot of time away from your hometown, you learn things in a certain way. You come back home and I'm aloof when I say it's a bit of a culture shock, but it actually is. you are having to understand how things are done here. So being able to be flexible, being able to be agile, you know, and ukwazi nje okokuba uthi xa imeko inje, then I need to you know, respond in this way. So it's been an I've been learning ever since I got here.
Sure. All right. Unfortunately,
Time's up.
if there was never such a thing as time, I have to wrap up the conversation. I want to say a big thank you. We really, really appreciate it. He's going to put our hands together. We have a gift for you. And before we get the gift, okay.
Oh yes, please.
Okay, so before, ne?
Yeah.
I'm going to need two pictures, ne?
Okay.
One standing straight there.
Okay.
All right, ngicela simshayeleni izandla. So we'll get one without the mic, okay? And then I'm gonna get the mic, ne? And when you look straight into that camera, you need to give that smile when you've purchased your second. That's all, there. That's the smile. Thank you so much. Your closing final words to the entrepreneurs here.
Yeah, I kind of thought, you know, what would I be maybe remembered for? What would I like to be remembered for? And I think I would love to be in a society where we are starting to think that we would rather be remembered not only for the things that we build, but also for how we have positively impacted the people that build things. Thank you. Yes, come, sweetheart.